Welcome to our show. This is Thompson's Talk Movies. My name is Andy.
I'm Gabe.
I'm Todd.
We're here to talk about movies, which we are all very fond of. Today, the idea is that we are all watched a movie together, or not together, but the same movie, and then we all individually watched one, and then we've got sort of like a topic to discuss at the end. Today's group movie is Parasite, the 2019 Best Picture. It's from South Korea. Just a little background of it. I got it right here. It was released in May 2019. It won Best Picture. It was the first foreign film to win Best Picture. It also got Best Director, Best International Film, and Best Screenplay. And Bong Joon-ho, the director, also wrote the screenplay, wrote it, produced it, directed it, things like that. It cost $11.4 million to create, and it's up to $266 million in the box office right now.
So pretty good investment.
It's pretty good. What do you guys think?
Well, I remember when it was out. It came out on Hulu, by the way. You can see this on Hulu. It came out on Hulu maybe, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and I asked my friend if she wanted to watch the movie. She says, "What's it called?" I said, "Parasite." She says, "No, I don't want to watch a movie called Parasite." So anyway, I did like it. It was very unexpected and quirky, I thought, and different. It is in Korean though, and so it has subtitles. What do you think, Gabe?
I feel like there's subtitles. After watching it, I can't remember if it was in English or Korean, because that's how much you're like kind of into it. Because you're like, you don't even like.
You don't need to notice that you're reading anymore.
I don't even notice that I'm reading because it's really good.
There's an amazing amount of English in it, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they kind of weave it in, or there's a lot of words I didn't realize that are the same.
Yeah.
So you can kind of pick up.
It's kind of like English Korean, and it's definitely made for like America. I feel like I don't know. I mean, like in a way, it has like its own like cultural things as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like with the use of like the little English and like
I see.
It's kind of like
Kind
of feels like a little bit more American movie. I don't know.
Yeah. I assume that the director is Korean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
all the actors are Korean. Yeah.
Yep. And so I don't know if it must have been quite a shock to the system to actually earn so much money and have it become so popular. This isn't his first. This isn't his first successful movie.
He's been directing for a while.
Isn't he? Didn't he do Snowpiercer or something like that? Wasn't that?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. That was also a very unusual movie, and that was in English though, as I recall.
Right.
Yeah. And
this one might be the most grossing South Korean movie ever made.
Oh, that's what I think.
I could probably check that out, but
yeah, I don't know. I felt like it would have made more money since it's a Best Picture. I mean, obviously, I don't know. Maybe not a lot of people heard of it, and then like it got Best Picture, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" And then they watched it on Hulu, and then they didn't get like the actual like.
Well, the 266 millions people going to the theater to see it.
Yeah.
And considering the situation, they probably would have made more money.
Yeah.
Because it might still be in theaters in some places right now.
Right. Imagine that been re-released. When was it released? I think like in September, October of last year, or something like that.
May.
May.
So it's been out for a year almost.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, by and large, I would recommend the movie. I would give it a one finger up. Yes. 0 to 1, no fractions. It gets a 1 from me. I have to make people a little bit aware that there is some violence in the movie, and there's some good reason for its R rating, and maybe some language too.
I think it's pretty heavily languaged.
Yeah.
Actually, now that I remember, yeah.
But it is in South Korean.
Well, I mean, it's got like
Like at the beginning of the movie, like his like friend, just like it's like like they never go back to that part of the story.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, it's
No.
very linear. There's not much
Was
much
it-
subplot.
They
By the
don't
way,
go
did I
back
did
to
I just make
anything.
a very terrible social faux pas by saying that the movie is in South Korean?
Like,
So-
No,
if you're
they-
talking that language, yeah, we probably did.
They would be Korean.
It's Korean. You speak
Exactly,
Korean.
exactly, yes.
People from North and
I
South
speak South
Korean
Dakotan.
speak.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
one language, two countries.
Exactly. Okay.
True.
Yeah. Anyway, that was.
Well, I guess you can say you speak South Dakota because they're technically two different states and they're technically not the same. They're
It's true.
never. I mean, they're never like
No.
unified. You could say that for West Virginia and Virginia, maybe.
Maybe.
Get on with it!
Would you guys recommend the movie to others?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. It's very. I guess I love the unexpectedness. You don't know. You were talking earlier, Gabe, about whether or not it was. At first it seems a little bit like maybe a horror movie, but then it seems like maybe it's a comedy. And then later, it's not a comedy
And
anymore.
We sort of call it a dark comedy.
Yeah.
It's sort of like
Is that what yeah.
a dark
Kinda,
comedy is
yeah.
probably the genre I would put it into.
Yeah.
Like the.
It's very funny at the beginning, like up until the last
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah, is
30
pretty
minutes.
hilarious.
It's really. Yeah, everything just kind of goes bad.
I saw
like, like in one instance, like
Yeah.
and then it's just like
Yeah.
a train wreck after
Right,
that.
yeah.
Or just keeps snowballing.
I saw it at the Lakeville Theater
Okay.
close by, so
Well, cool.
I
Yeah.
did see it in the big screen.
Yeah, that would be
first,
nice.
so.
I was. One of the differences or problems, of course, with watching a movie streaming is that I got interrupted. I can't remember. I was watching the movie and then I got interrupted. And I thought, well, should I start over again? No, I think I'll just pick it up where I left off. And so I think I think that's my favorite part about going to movie theaters, and hopefully we can get back to that soon. Is that you get to see a movie uninterrupted.
This one is a good one to shut away everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm
definitely.
gonna watch it again, I think. And
Yeah,
Should we run down the plot too, or should we?
well, yeah, we
you can skip this part if you don't want spoilers, maybe.
Well, we don't need to give the spoilers, but
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
essentially the movie's about two families in Korea, South Korea, a rich family and a poor family, and each family has a mom, a dad, a brother, and a sister, and the brother of the poor family teaches the sister of the rich family art, essentially, and is
Or is it
tutoring them
English?
art. Oh, sorry.
It's English.
Oh, my bad, yeah. Right, that's something else. So yeah, tutors in English, that's right. And then eventually sort of gets the other workers of the house, because they're rich, so they've got a housekeeper, a chauffeur, and a tutor for the son, gets those three people replaced with his family.
This whole family thing, and
So-
then they're like, they're I don't know them at all. They're like my cousin, like my far back
Right,
cousin.
I met them once, and stuff like that.
He's a con. It's a
He's
con.
good.
Runs a con game on him.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. It's
So-
pretty much a con game.
And so
That's
the
why it's
poor
kinda like
family is a parasite, on a
Parasite,
rich
yeah.
family.
And then, so then they infiltrate the house, and the poor family sort of takes advantage of the rich family. When they're out, they party, and sort of stuff like that. And when they're out, they stay in their house instead of staying at their poor house, which is not very good. Floods and stuff like that, really bad. Sewers backing up.
So basically, when that plot gets built up, and then it's like a house of cards. That when one thing went wrong, like Gabe says, it kind of snowballed. So we won't tell you what actually happens in the movie.
Stuff
but-
goes, yeah, and then the housekeeper. Well, yeah, I won't even say that part
Yeah.
either. There's other people that the old the original workers of the house. Some of them come back and cause havoc, and the poor family, the main character family, sort of takes too much liberty with their situation and sort of gets caught. But
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
yeah, like the cinematography is like really good. Like when they're doing really intense scenes,
Hmm
or when like they're like, oh.
It builds tension really well,
Yeah, like
I think.
you remember like well, I guess it's just really good. I won't give an example, but like,
It's hard to. This one's hard to give out plot without giving away
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, because it's sort of there's a lot of details even early in the movie that are pretty important
Yeah.
that you can't really talk about
It
until you see
is
it.
kind of a movie that you need to see
You
again.
have to see.
Yes,
And
every time.
again, yeah.
I think because when a movie is unexpected, I like to go back and watch the movie and see if there were clues, you know, in there, so for the unexpected things that happen later.
This one would be
Foreshadowing.
good.
Yeah, foreshadowing. I bet there is in this
Sometimes
one.
you
But
don't need to see a movie again.
Yeah.
You're like, I've seen it once, I don't need to see it again.
Right.
But this one, you're like, I've seen it once, I need to see it again.
Frozen was one of those first kind of movies.
Really?
You only need to
Really?
see that
You're gonna
once.
drop that on the first episode?
I'm just
Okay.
sitting there.
Oh my goodness.
I was going to say Little
Low-hanging
Mermaid, but then I thought I
fruit.
better. But I
Little
modernized
Mermaid's
it.
way better than.
I thought I'd modernize it and do Frozen, but
That's a good plan.
so we got this one gets 3 fingers up.
3 fingers up.
Oh yeah, that's right. Did you have an adult with you at the movie?
Nah, bro. I was downstairs just
He
watching.
was only off by a year.
I was upstairs though, right? So
Yeah, you were close by. Supervision. What is supervision?
I don't even
right?
know. Please, yes. Speaking of violence,
Yeah, no
should
kidding.
we go to our?
Actually,
we
mine
each-
had less, probably a little less than Parasite, but just a teeny bit less.
Oh well.
No
mine-
intentional violence.
My
What about yours?
my movie has much more violence than I.
What do you?
I
Ooh.
decided this week to pick the #1 viewing item on Netflix, and it's a movie called Extraction. Chris Helmsworth
Thor.
of Thor fame, yes, is the hero.
And no other thing.
Yeah, well, he's
Maybe
kind of
this
a little bit
movie.
one-dimensional.
Yeah, right.
And then everybody else is well, there's a lot of the movie takes place in India, directed by Sam Hargrave, but the movie was written and produced by these Russo, I don't know if they're brothers or whatever, and
The Russo
Anthony
brothers.
and
Yeah.
Joe Russo, and they've actually made other movies with Helmsworth. And this one, I didn't know that much about it. I saw it. I saw, oh, #1. We're gonna do these reviews. I might as well watch it, see what it is. And I love action movies. This one, the body count on this movie though could be. It's certainly in the hundreds.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang.
So
Okay.
it would be almost impossible to count. I mean, if you tried to count them down,
Okay.
yeah. It reminds
As
me
much
of
as
some
Mulan?
as Mulan, exactly, and even as much as
Nobody has a
John
high
Woo.
as it. Oh yeah, there you go.
That's the highest Disney movie.
Mulan. Okay, yeah. Well,
Of kills, anyways.
we
It's
used to
like
watch
4?
movies by, isn't
No,
it?
the old,
No, I know, I
older,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
All the Raiders going down
Right,
the mountain.
right.
Okay,
yeah.
you go back
Yeah.
to.
No, there's, I think it was. Isn't it John Woo, the guy who has the crazy?
Yeah, the Chinese director that's. Like,
He has some crazy body counts
Just
in his
in-
movies.
yeah,
Well, this
yep.
is right up there.
Wow.
And it's a little disconcerting, I must say,
Right.
because this big Thor basically has a machine gun and kills over 100 like Indian folks.
Oh sure. Okay.
So
yeah.
it's kind of got a weird
That's
vibe
kind of
that way,
kind
but
of a bad look, sort of.
yeah,
in a way.
it is
Okay.
kind of it's the movie's kind of although I did watch the whole thing and was entertained, of course, but I guess it's a story about a boy who gets kidnapped, and then the extraction is Chris Helmsworth's character, Tyler is his name, which is kind of a strange name.
It's a
Tyler.
weird name.
And, it should be, I don't
Tyler.
know, Butch or
Reginald.
Brody or something, but Tyler is the
Is
name.
he like fighting like the mafia or like?
Well, yeah,
government?
these are drug lord kind of
Okay,
people.
drug
If you
lord.
could kind of translate what we normally see as like a Latin drug lord kind of a thing into an Indian drug lord.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so it's
interchangeable.
kind of that's kind of interesting from scenery standpoint, because you don't see a lot of movies shot in India, or at least I don't. And so there
Not
was
like this, probably.
right.
Not just Chris
A lot of
Hemsworth
lotus
on-
positions.
floating
Yes. There's a lot can be made from a automatic rifle with a silencer on it.
Oh man,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's an interesting combination. But so that was, and there was some interesting relationships in the movie. It's kind of the boy who he rescues is of course very skeptical of him, and they have quite a relationship. And so a lot of you know, like brotherhood and sisterhood, like friends, you know, like in a mercenary sense, you know, what I'll do for my comrades, kind of a thing. So I don't know if I could recommend the movie. It has, but Chris Helmsworth, of course, is a big box office.
If you want to see
smash.
Thor with a gun, I mean,
Exactly.
that's pretty much what it is.
And so
Does he have like a team? Does he have like a bunch of couple like weirdos that follow him around and stuff like that?
kind of has a team, but they don't really make it really second act.
Just Chris Hemsworth.
It's just more bodies to
Yes,
add to the count.
yes,
really?
I literally single-handedly.
Oh
he
Jesus.
takes out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
All
The
right.
entire drug
Wow.
lord.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Army.
You don't
it's
have to worry
amazing.
about that hemisphere anymore.
Exactly,
Oh my
exactly.
goodness.
So anyway, you can find that on Netflix, and it was a Netflix movie, you know, produced by
original,
Netflix,
right?
an
Yeah.
original.
Yep.
And so I don't know if it,
No
so
box
it
office.
wouldn't have, you know,
Probably
obviously it was premiered streaming, but so you know, because it was a Netflix, it probably would have done that anyway, even without the pandemic. And I know a lot of the movies that, you know, were going to be released in theaters are either being withheld or just being released on streaming services because they, you know, they don't want to be sitting on the shelf, I guess. But this one, like I said, it's very popular on Netflix, and it definitely doesn't, you know, just goes boom, 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 boom.
It
You're not-
delivers?
You're sitting there, yeah, you're not sitting back thinking, oh, what's going to happen next? You know, there's incredible parkour and incredible gun and fighting action. And I guess Chris Helmsworth gives a passable performance. You know, it is what it is, I guess.
Any like no love like story or anything like that? Is
Well,
there...
kind of ish. You know, he's a classic mercenary whose family has long since, you know, left him.
Sure.
You know, alone, but he's not unloved.
Does he like? Okay, so very first scene of the movie.
Yeah.
He's like passed out in some like seedy hotel or something like that. Like shirtless.
Well, one of the cool things,
like pants ripped, like kind of down on his luck kind of thing.
Well,
It just sort
he
of
plays
brings him out of his funk.
He plays an Australian,
Okay.
which I believe he might be. Is he
I think
Australian?
he is Australian.
Yeah. Anyway, he plays an Australian.
So he doesn't have to hide his
And
accent. That's kind of
exactly.
cool.
He's sitting out in the bush with some buddies, some bros, when
okay.
when a well-dressed foreigner comes up to him and says, "We need you." You know, we
Does he
got-
cut Chopper in and scare away all the wallabies or something like that?
Not quite.
I'll Dr.
I can
Hammond
see
in
that
Jurassic Park.
And then it's like
I can see that they should have had you staging this filming.
Oh, totally. Oh,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah,
I
so,
would have cliched the crap out of this one.
Exactly. So,
Hey, we were saving that.
and he needed the money, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a
okay,
double
maybe.
cross in there.
Okay,
and,
all right,
and all
okay.
that kind of stuff. And,
Sure. That's
and,
good.
Uh,
As long as
so,
it
yeah.
keeps you guessing,
yeah,
sort of.
I can't give it a one finger up. I can, you know, maybe do this because it is entertaining, but for my taste, it had a little bit, you know, too much bad juju in it.
Mm.
But you know, again, I didn't grow up in, you know, I didn't grow up with Grand Theft Auto, you know, either. So maybe with that, it might not think it's so bad. But it's kind of a cartoon, like, you know, it's a live action, but the way it works, you know, it's kind of fantasy and that.
Sure.
We
Okay.
have to kind of like let go of that part of reality to enjoy it. But so yeah, there we go.
Well,
Extraction,
unlike
2020.
yours,
Go ahead.
mine was loosely based on a true story.
Oh yeah.
I watched Ford versus Ferrari, Best Picture nominee from 2019. It lost to Parasite, the one we talked about earlier. Essentially, it's the story of two main guys, Carol Shelby and Ken Miles, getting together. They're both race car drivers, but Shelby became a designer and is more known for being a designer, and Ken was just a race car driver. He's known for being a race car driver and is still known for being a race car driver. It takes place in the mid-60s. Essentially, the first half of the movie is Carroll Shelby, played by Matt Damon, trying to get Ken Miles, played by Christian Bale, to help out with the movie, or excuse me, help out with the car. And then the second half is basically them getting together and racing in Europe, eventually wanting to race in Le Mans 24 Hours, which is a 24-hour car race. And those are everywhere. They take place in the United States as well. And eventually they have success and they want to beat Ferrari and stuff like that. I liked this movie a lot. It wasn't, I mean, I'm kind of a gearhead sort of, so I really like the cars and stuff like that. It wasn't actually as good as I thought it was going to be, honestly, but it's still really good. It probably wouldn't have deserved the Best Picture if it won in this situation, but I mean, maybe it deserved a nomination.
You thought Parasite was better?
Oh yeah, definitely. It did win for Best Sound Editing. It won the Oscar for Best Sound Editing. It did also cost $97 million, and it made $225 million.
Probably would have made
maybe more because of the situation. Yeah. That's kind of the idea. There's not much plot to it, but it's really good. There's a lot of good. It's rated PG-13. There's very little violence. There's no violence. Very little language. It's probably rated PG-13 for the car crashes. Actually, there's a whole bunch of car crashes in this movie, and that'd be the only reason. There's no swearing, no violence. They wrestle for one scene, and it's a really like Matt Damon and Christian Bale's fight scene. They like basically wrestle in Ken Miles' front yard because he comes in. He's like. Ken sort of gets fired, and Shelby comes in. He's like, "Dude, I'm sorry. Can you come? You can still come work for us. You're just not going to drive the car." And he's like, "Well, okay, fine." But they fight first. They wrestle first. That's really funny. It's directed by a guy that's done Logan and Wolverine and Night and Day and Girl Interrupted.
Not all action movies.
Not all action movies. No. I mean, this was more historic, like
It wasn't really enough.
historic drama. I would say, like there's historic sports drama. That's probably better.
Would you recommend it?
I would, yeah.
One finger up.
One finger, yep. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good shots of like old Ferraris and stuff like that too. Like the old Ferrari that's in the last race is really, really beautiful.
So my movie was Straight Outta Compton. It's a pretty intense movie, and or very intense movie, more like it. Made $200 million at the box office. Was released in 2015. Yeah, I say it's really, really good, and they do use the N-word quite a bit. And so, like, if you don't like that, then maybe don't watch it. But it's really nice to like see like how they were like, you know, like kind of talking like against the police or like just with themselves, and it kind of like shows like what their brotherhood was kind of about in a way, kind of like Huckleberry Finn, where they use it a lot too. Kind of like shows like the time period in a way. And
what is the time period?
The 90s. So late 80s to like mid 90s.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's about these like 5 guys. It's around 5 people, but it's more like a main 3 people. But like so you have Eazy-E, Ice Cube, Dr. Dre. Those are probably the 3 most famous in the movie, and it kind of shows them they're already all kind of friends, and they kind of like are like, let's just start doing music. I mean, let's just do it, because Dr. Dre like did the beats and like did all that stuff, and the other people sang basically, and they kind of like try to bring it together, and then like the whole thing with like police and stuff, the police the whole time are just kind of screwing them over, like they're just standing out on the street and they're like, okay, get down on the ground, we're gonna check you for like stuff, even though they were just not even acting suspicious, they're just chilling. And yeah, I definitely recommend the movie because it's kind of cool to see. There's like some music involved. It shows like the culture around like the police during the time, and like there's like this famous case that they show in it where like these 4 policemen are like beating up this black guy just like furiously. He has no weapon or anything. He's just standing still, and like they get away with it. Like they don't get charged or anything. Like they go to court, no charges. Like they don't. They're not convicted.
Is that the Rodney King thing?
Rodney King.
Probably, yeah. I think now you said the name. Yeah, and
that started the LA riots in '93.
Yep, and they're all just like rioting the whole time.
Who plays the main characters? I assume they don't get Ice Cube to come back and play himself.
Ice Cube's son.
Really?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Ice Cube's son plays Ice Cube in the movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
He looks like
the other ones.
just like him. He looks so much like his dad.
him.
It's really crazy.
Well, would you say Dr. Dre?
Dr. Dre. He works with now or did like past couple of years Snoop Dogg. That's
Dr.
like
Dre
another
does?
famous
Okay.
rapper.
I mean Ice Cube from is it Law and Order that he?
Ice-T is I know in Law and Order.
What's that?
Ice Cube is
Oh yeah.
Oh, the movies, those
Ice Cube.
undercover cop movies
Is he the one?
Kevin Hart. Anaconda too, right?
Yeah, but
and Ghosts of Mars.
I kinda
The Babysitter series. Where he babysits those kids?
No.
Isn't that Ice Cube?
Series? There's Vin Diesel.
He takes care. No, well, there's that one, but yeah, Ice Cube there's a series. There's 2 movies that they're good. The first one's really good.
Oh, boy.
Where he somehow on accident this family he babysits these kids and has to take them to in his car somewhere. I mean, he's like a comedian. I mean, really, Ice Cube nowadays.
Yeah,
in a lot of his movies,
right,
and
yeah.
you know, it's a little bit like Dwayne Johnson or
Kind of.
Yeah, so
yeah.
if you know anything about like those guys, I would really recommend it. Give it a 1 or a finger up. It kind of gets you out of a comfort zone, kind of like how some movies talk about certain things. Like this one talking about police brutality and like just
Imagine that's
lessons like death.
a
And
good music soundtrack, huh?
It's
No?
it kind of like they don't. I mean, like they
That's
do
not
the
the
songs,
focus
their
of it.
most famous songs. Like they have like little scenes where they do the songs and they're recording them. But it's not like It's not like
It's more about their life.
It's more about their life and like how they get through the hard times and stuff.
Well, that's good that we did 2 movies about actual like
Yeah.
things. Well, I mean, not actual
You-
things, but like
your movies were like
true
literary.
life things. Like, yeah, right,
As
exactly.
as Eazy-E, Jason Mitchell, as Dr. Dre, Corey Hawkins, Ice Cube.
Tell me what what Ice Cube's son's name is.
Jackson.
It's not
Jackson
like-
Jr.
O'Shea Jackson Jr.
O'Shea
Jackson Jr.
Yeah,
Jr.
Jackson Jr. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
What's his name?
Jerry Heller.
No, I mean, what's his? Paul Giamatti.
Oh,
Paul Giamatti plays their
Paul Giamatti, yeah.
plays their
manager.
and he's a big part of the movie, and he gets arrested with them all the time too, because he's just there when they're coming off of this. Like a couple of times they're coming off of the stage, and like same with well, I was reminded of The Doors when like Jim would like pick up joints that a person would throw at him and just start smoking it on the stage, and the cop would come up to him and be like, "You can't do that. You got to stop doing that." And they would the same idea. Like they would be putting, they would talk to them before the show and be like, "You can't play this song. You can't play this song. You can't play this song. And in this song, you can't say this." And they're like, "No, of course we're not going to do. Of course we're going to play those songs. You tell us not to play them. We're going to play them first
Ice Cube
and
is
only ones and stuff like that." So like. They arrest him a couple times right as they're coming off the stage and stuff like
so
that.
they're singing songs and they're like, tonight we're gonna we're
Yeah,
gonna
right.
sing this song that the police
Look
told us we
like
couldn't,
brothers.
and it just made them even more popular.
Right, exactly.
Like, because
And, like-
they just got like so much popularity because the police were trying to F them over.
That's cool.
And like the same thing about like not so much in that time, but like 3 or 4 years later, they
Look at the
started to do
comparison between
they
Ice
started to
Cube
do
and
the like the
Cube on your own.
explicit lyrics and stuff like that. Like those little like essentially V-chip badges for the music.
Sure.
And like a lot of like, well, some like bands that were sort of, you know, a little more vulgar than others got more attention because the politicians like picked them out, like singled them out, and be like, these are the ones that you shouldn't be playing, these are the ones you shouldn't be listening to, and that made them more famous.
Sure.
The politicians picking them out, telling them they shouldn't listen to them, made more people listen to them, and that just blows me away. I mean, it makes sense. Like that's a classic example of any publicity is good publicity.
Totally.
But yeah, it's that was
Especially
crazy.
their publicity, because like basically, it
The
was
more
just
times
like,
they get arrested,
yeah.
I mean, they're gonna be more popular the
Yeah,
more times
yeah.
they get arrested.
and it's like, do you hate people abusing their power? Yeah, and then they just abuse their power more, and then they're like, oh, then
Look at us! Like they're abusing it all over us. Like
Yeah, they're really arresting us if we sing a song.
Just so it's weird how both parties on both sides of it need to have the same thing, and it's the same thing, and they don't know it's the same thing. They're vehement and like they will yell it to you to your face that it's not the same thing, but it is. It's just you need something to fill that void, whether it be. I mean, you want to consume that art, or you don't want to consume it.
Oh, so
That's still the same spot in your life.
and it's based on a true story,
makes no
like
sense.
heavily
Yeah,
based
right.
on
So it's
real
really
events.
that's odd in my opinion, but that's a good one. I have actually,
I've not seen that.
yeah.
It's really good.
Check it out.
Did
Well,
that
there you
get
go.
nominated for anything back then? Best soundtrack or anything like that? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Okay,
no.
yeah, I don't
So there you go. We got the Parasite,
remember. Sweet.
or just Parasite.
Just Parasite.
Extraction, Ford
Ford
versus
versus Ferrari.
Ferrari, and
Straight out of Compton.
Compton. So some movies that you might enjoy. We're gonna finish up with a little. I don't know if we should go top 10 or just our favorite
I just
action
put
movie.
top. I mean, and let's discuss this a little bit too.
Yeah, why
because
don't we go through your top 10,
Okay.
which are probably the same as mine.
I'm gonna lay down some ground rules here first.
Oh yeah,
So we just thought about action movies.
right.
So I'm sort of a stickler for semantics in this situation, sort of a nerd. When I'm talking about action movies, I didn't include any James Bond movies, no Lord of the Rings, no Harry Potter, no Star Wars, no Star Trek, nothing like that. Those are all fantasy, action, adventure, sci-fi, right? I mean,
Okay.
you're using different.
The only
These are my
James Bond.
stipulations.
The only ones I would have included were James Bond. But
Okay,
go ahead.
these are my stipulations.
Okay.
And same with Jason Bourne. They're not part of that either.
Okay.
And you know, you could do like what did I say? Sports action drama or sports? What did I say about Ford versus Ferrari? Historic sports drama.
Get on with it!
You tell us what
alright,
your
okay.
favorite action, and that'll help define what an action movie is
Okay,
for you.
this is in no particular order. Probably least, like best to worst, best to least, I guess, just considering I've thought it in my head. But my first one is Die Hard 1. You know, Nakatomi Tower, all that good stuff. Second one is Mad Max Fury Road, the most recent one,
Okay.
the one from 3 or 4 years ago.
Not the one with Tina Turner.
Not the one with Tina Turner, no. Third one is Matrix, the first one.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Next one down is True Lies.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple more Arnold on here. Wait, one more. Next one's Predator. Those are the two Arnold movies, True Lies and Predator. Next one is Avengers, the first one from 2015, 2010, something like that. I can't remember exactly.
2012.
2012, thank you. Next one is the Fast and the Furious 4. I like 4 through 6, but 4 would be the one I would choose in those. Next one is Mission Impossible 5, Rogue Nation. Again, I'd probably pick 6 too. Those are both 5 and 6 are pretty good. Next one is Kill Bill Volume 1, and from Tarantino, and then Baby Driver.
Oh,
If you remember that
Baby
one.
Driver is a good one.
That is a good one.
It's kind of a
One I wouldn't have thought of.
off the cuff sort of. That was sort of one I thought of right at the end. But
When I think of like, for me, when I think of action movie, there's no adventure. Like it's not a character exploring anything. It's just straight, just like killing. Honestly, like, I mean, you can have
What's an example?
or the Extinction one would just be
Yeah,
straight up.
Extraction.
That's Extraction.
That's an
Would just
action
be, that would
movie.
be literally just pure action. But there's also like ones that are like
What's that one with Keanu
mostly
Reeves?
action. John Wick.
John
Just
Wick.
straight up, just start
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
boom.
those are
boom,
action. Those
boom.
3 are action movies. Yeah.
Okay,
Straight up killing, just boom, boom, boom. Just kills 10 people in a house. You're like, oh, okay.
that has to be action.
Yeah,
At
that's
that,
those.
No
like-
matter how you slice that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I'd
a
probably
good
say John Wick. In my opinion, James Bond, because he's not. I really don't feel like he's I mean, he's kind of like figuring out things, but he's not so much adventure as much as action. So I feel like he does more action in that, and he just.
Fast and the
Kills.
Furious are pretty actiony, huh?
Yeah, I feel like those are more adventure, and they kind of like go into different plots, and it's more dramatic for
Those can be.
me.
Mhm.
So I don't really classify them as pure action, but they're still pretty action actually, but still. And
Action always requires a pretty clear villain. Not always, but
yeah.
so that unlike a movie where you're not sure who
Another
the bad
good
guy
one
is.
where I feel like it's really action is World War Z, zombies versus the humans.
Oh, okay.
Like, there's adventure
I'd
in that
probably
one
consider
too.
that an action movie. World War Z. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of adventure of them like
and,
going everywhere.
Zombieland as well. That one I struggled with actually. I wanted to put that on this list, but
Zombieland's
That's an
Zombieland-
might be
action
on my
movie.
top. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
good one.
pretty good one too.
There's
More
not much
common.
like
For me, the
high
action
points
ones,
of action.
the
but-
action ones that I really like are, I think, True Lies is a good example because it's got a lot of action, but it's also very entertaining and it has some twists in it as well and some humor.
Cheering me on.
The Avengers is to me a little too far. I don't know if I would put them in my action category, but it definitely has a lot of action in it for sure. Other ones that might have, I don't know if you'd call the Indiana Jones ones action. They're kind of action
Adventure.
kind of action adventure. One that you left out, but I have liked it. My favorite is Terminator 3, where they get into the mountain at the end. I don't know if you remember.
With you and Claire Danes and
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
I thought that's my favorite of it, but the Terminator series is to me would be another Arnold, obviously, movie.
Do you like
Super
you saw the
action.
Christian Bale Terminators, right?
Are they the most
Well,
recent
the
ones?
Salvation. There's only one.
Oh, okay, so then
It was
Terminator. Then I think I have.
Terminator Salvation. No, I don't.
How long
remember.
ago was that? Like a year? Or are you talking about the ones
No,
like 5
no.
years
This
ago?
one was between 3 and the one with
The girls.
the one with girls. Yeah, there's 2 with girls. There's one with Emilia Clarke, who
Oh,
was
yeah.
Daenerys
I was
from
talking
Game
about
of
the most
Thrones, and
recent
then there's one
girl
with
one.
what's her name that comes back from 1 and 2.
Oh yeah.
But there was one.
Like,
There
they
was
do the
one
same
between them.
kid.
Yeah.
That Christian Bale was John Connor, and it was excellent. And I really wanted them to do more.
But no, that's
That's an action
yeah.
movie.
That was the only one I thought you were going to
Put
have a
Terminator
Terminator
2
one
in?
on there.
No, I should have. I didn't think about
A
that.
lot of people
actually.
think that Terminator 2 was kind of the epitome with the Mercury guy,
Yeah.
And see,
but for
I
some
wouldn't
reason I
even-
didn't like that one. But yeah, it's
I almost,
it's cool.
I almost wouldn't consider the first one an action movie either. Then,
Well, the first one is.
because like it's
I
sort
don't
of the
recommend going
thriller
back
kind
and
of-
writing the first. The first one is so dated.
It's very
I
dated.
went back and watched it like 15 years ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so dated. I mean,
It's dated,
It's not
but-
quite like Conan, but it's
Ooh,
similar.
damn.
It's getting close. Yeah. but yeah, it's funny with.
If you want to see Arnold as a bad guy, that's kind of. You mean
True.
he's only? I mean, he's really. That
there's
might
redemption
be
at the end,
his
though,
only
isn't there?
bad guy.
Oh, another one
In
that's
Terminator, he
probably
never
Terminator
turns good.
1.
He's never a good guy.
In Terminator 2, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
In Terminator 1, he's always the bad guy.
I
Isn't
feel
he?
like
Okay, I thought there was redemption at the end.
Oh, okay.
I thought he kinda like-
That has been. I probably haven't seen it in 20 years. If you haven't
Yeah.
seen it in 50 or
Exactly.
15, excuse me.
I probably another one on my list are like the Hunger Games series, but like the first one is even I don't even consider that one an action movie. I mean, it has action, but not as much as like 2 and 3. Like 2, I feel like is super actiony, which I really like. I feel like that one.
It kind of depends on more like. Yeah.
As a series,
See,
it's
tough.
action.
It's tough
but
to define
as
it. That's why
certain
it's
movies-
fun to discuss it, I guess.
2
Because
is
you
like
don't.
the
I
best.
mean, and
For
do you
action.
just take like with the yeah, the first one. It's more.
dramatic.
It's more
and
drama.
It's
drama
kind
and
of building
adventure,
up
kind of.
2 and 3.
Right.
I mean, you get introduced to like the first thing, but it being a book series first is really nice because then they can just build up the first movie, and then 2, 3, and then part 2 of 3 is just really like all about the action of
Kind
them
of
start
assumes
just
some
killing.
of
Yeah, I mean, I like
know
the
what's going on.
first one the best of the Hunger Games, just because I'm not sure why I liked that. Oh, that's how that works. Blah,
I,
blah, blah,
I, I
blah,
liked it.
blah.
I liked the first one the best, and because we've never like I mean, I guess we've seen it before, but not as like
That's
at least that was my first time ever seeing anything like that, and
Yeah,
like
yeah. You're right.
it got a new
You-
wave
you-
of
you saw it when
culture.
It was
Right.
mainstream. It was mainstream.
You were probably in
Yeah.
single digits when you saw it.
2012, so I was like
Oh my gosh.
8. So anything that I say like for a rating, like age rating, probably put it up like 2 or 3.
If Gabe saw it when he was 12, don't
You
let your
saw,
kids see it till
you
they're
saw the
16.
most
Saw
adult
The
movie
Walking
of
Dead when I
all
was
time,
9.
too. I think we, yeah, that was funny.
Next week we'll be talking about The Walking Dead.
Oh my
and,
God.
no,
How I
anyway,
saw it when I was 9.
There you go.
Thanks
Yeah.
for watching.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you. We'll be seeing you next week or next month. We're not sure which yet. This is episode number 1. This is
Or maybe
April
or-
27th, 2020. We're in the middle of the pandemic, you know, to help benchmark that for you.
We
And
hope we're in the middle of it.
we hope we can get this out
Hopefully.
on
Hopefully the
YouTube
end.
and or an audio version soon for people to listen to. And thanks for watching, or listening.
Goodbye.